Hi there. Later, lots of queer cinema at Sundance. First though, it's Holocaust Memorial Day, honouring the millions of people, including gay men, who were killed by the Nazis. Hitler viewed homosexuality as a threat to his attempts to purify Germany. Around 10 to 15,000 gay men died in concentration camps. LGBTQ+ historian Dr. Jake Newsom says some were castrated, whilst others had medical experiments carried out on them.
The Nazis beginning to think that, maybe there is a biological reason for being gay, maybe people are born that way, and so they began looking for a biological cure for this so-called disease.
Thanks to the US Holocaust Memorial Museum. Up until the Nazis took power in 1933, Germany's capital Berlin had a thriving gay culture. Just got harder for same-sex couples in India to book a hotel room. A discretionary ban on unmarried partners making reservations with a major budget chain Oyo in the city of Meerut, northeast of Delhi. With no gay marriage in the country, and of course many others from where travellers might be coming, that's an issue. The company says it's responding to local social sensibilities and might expand the policy. And lots of new queer movies and documentaries to enjoy at the Sundance Film Festival. Among them, Twinless, starring Dylan O'Brien, about a complex bromance. Also Enigma, exploring the lives of two transgender legends, English model April Ashley and French singer Amanda Lear. The festival's on in Utah till February 2nd, and you've got screenings online. No time to tell you that. Emilia Perez star Carla Sofia Gascon's the first out transgender performer up for an Oscar in an acting category. And the world's only inclusive tennis event's been taking place over the weekend, Australia's Glam Slam. Hi there. Later, support for the bishop who called out America's anti-queer president. First though, thousands of people in Argentina have been protesting their president's bigotry. It's after Javier Milei, who looks like Wolverine, used a speech in Switzerland to attack the LGBT agenda and the mental virus of wokeism. As many as 8,000 who turned out for a demonstration in Buenos Aires city were also reacting to this.
In its most extreme forms, gender ideology is outright child abuse. So I want to know who would support that kind of behavior. They are pedophiles. Healthy children are being irreversibly harmed through hormone treatments and mutilation.
No, they're not. Milei/Wolverine's come out with a lot of this kind of nonsense during his first year in office. He's also scrapped the country's Women, Gender and Diversity Ministry. A song that says queer people should be stabbed to death has topped the charts in Cameroon. Boys Nerves by Snoopy Le Melody, who may or may not be a closet case, also equates us with paedophiles, #original. An LGBTQ+ advocacy group there wants him investigated by prosecutors for inciting murder. And after a bishop stood up to America's anti-queer president, the orange convicted felon and sexual abuser, 50,000 people signed a petition to support her. The Right Reverend Marianne Edgar Budd called him out to his orange face during a prayer service in Washington last week. The petition calls for her to keep on defending LGBTQ+ people against the orange convicted felon and sexual abuser. Hi there, sore throat's gotten worse, but I'm ploughing on. Later, Crocodile Dundee without the transphobia. First though, we thought proposed draconian anti-queer legislation in Ghana wasn't going to happen now, but it still might. A change of president had thrown the plans into doubt, but the Speaker of Parliament's saying he wants to revive them. They include 3 years in prison just for identifying as queer, and 5 years for setting up or financing LGBTQ+ groups. Gay Ghanaian Suli tells DW if the law does come to pass, he's off.
I will not choose to stay in a country that sees me as a criminal. I refuse to. I refuse to be gagged. I refuse to be criminalized because of who I am as a person.
Gay sex between men's already illegal in Ghana. The UN's condemned the legislation, warning billions of pounds of financial support for the country could be withdrawn. A review of gender-affirming care in Queensland means some trans children can't now access puberty blockers. No new patients aged under 18 will be treated by the state while this is taking place. Comes off the back of reports kids as young as 12 have received hormone therapy without proper medical support and parental consent. And a new edit of the classic 80s film Crocodile Dundee has been screened in Sydney, removing some transphobia. Includes a scene where Paul Hogan's Mick Dundee character grabs someone in the groin and says, "That was a guy dressed up like a Sheila." A homophobic insult also among the 2.5 minutes of footage to be cut. Hi there. Later, opera gets queer in Sydney. First though, the obsession of America's president, the orange convicted felon and sexual abuser, with transgender people continues. He's now cut government funding for gender-affirming care like puberty blockers, hormone therapy and surgery, part of a promise to, as he puts it, take all appropriate actions to end the chemical and surgical mutilation of children. Morgan Mayfair's from the Trans Social Support Organisation.
You are forcing these children to go through full puberty as a gender that's not theirs and making it harder for them to transition later on as adults. These children are frightened, so are their parents. They're in a panic.
Thanks to CBS Miami. Also, the US government's now being sued over attempts to ban trans people from the military. And staying with the sexy subject of litigation, the president of Argentina, who looks like Wolverine, is being sued as well, because he's a mahusive bigot. As I mentioned a few days ago, Javier Milei made a number of homophobic and transphobic comments during a speech in Switzerland. Paedophilia was in the mix. Boring. A criminal complaint's been filed by a gay member of Congress who says, amongst other things, Wolverine's encouraging anti-LGBTQ+ violence. And we'll end with some queer opera. If that's a problem for you, kiss my arias. Opera Up Late returns to Sydney Opera House tonight for a third year. The official blurb calling it a wild ride through the world of opera with a decidedly queer lens. It leans into just how camp opera can be and how it's basically a big drag show. Hi there. Still ill, so this is what I sound like. Later, the Stonewall National Monument in Lego. First though, calls to pause gender-affirming care for under 18s across Australia while a national inquiry is carried out. This would follow Queensland's lead, with the state announcing a review of its own earlier this week. More than 100 people, including politicians, doctors and lawyers, have now signed a letter to the Prime Minister. Many of them are seen as anti-trans. Kenny Godridge tells ABC News Australia, without gender-affirming care, she wouldn't be here.
It really is life or death. Getting prescribed estrogen, one of the best moments of my life. I'm not going to sit here crying about how much this means to me, but it really does. It means the world to me and my friends and my whole life.
America and Britain are already restricting gender transitions for minors. Around 1 in 10 young adults in the UK reckon they're lesbian, gay or bisexual. The Office for National Stats says the number's more than doubled since 2018. It's driven by a sharp increase in 16 to 24-year-olds identifying as bi, especially amongst women. And America's Stonewall National Monument to Queer Rights could get its own Lego set. A recreation of the New York site that's vying for this plastic brick-based accolade features a same-sex marriage proposal, a drag queen and a transgender woman. If enough people vote for this in Lego's competition, it gets its own set. The real-life monument turns 10 next year. No time to tell you that. Men who have sex with men will be allowed to give blood in New Zealand from early next year. A ban on conversion therapy is backed by 2 out of 3 adults in Scotland, if you go by a new survey. An Australian animation lesbian space princess has been awarded $10,000 from the Queer Screen Completion Fund. The main character goes on an intergalactic mission to save her ex-girlfriend from the straight white Malians. Very strong pun game there. Pride Daily specials all next week. Another A to Z of LGBTQ+. I'm Kev McGrath. See you then.